Dillian Whyte had just beaten Tetteh at the very end of the 7th round. And yes, Dillian Whyte wins. I think Dillian Whyte's done at the top level after watching that, if I'm being completely honest. My thoughts on the fight, I thought that it was a very bloody sloppy fight. It was a very sloppy fight, but it was kind of entertaining at the same time, though. It's a strange one. I think Dillian Whyte has done it at the top level. He took quite a bit of punishment there. Too much punishment that an elite guy should be taking. There were shots that Dillian Whyte took which he shouldn't have been taking, that he shouldn't have been getting caught with. Tetteh was loading up a lot on his shots and was able to catch Whyte. Whyte was doing some very stiff head movement throughout the fight as well, which was strange to bloody see. I thought Tetteh was really stiff throughout the fight as well. But, they both guys put on a show, so fair play to them. They, gave us fans what we wanted. I'm happy that we got a good fight at the end of the day instead of Dillian Whyte just blasting him right out of there. I'm glad that we got a fight. But at the end of the day, though, Dillian Whyte's not a top-level guy anymore. And this isn't just a one-off performance to prove my point either. Like, he's not a top-level guy anymore. We saw it against Tyson Fury with how literally he did not compete whatsoever in that fight. We saw, against Jermaine Franklin when he fought him, he probably shouldn't have won that fight. Fought Christian Hammer, looked sloppy in that one. Fought Tetteh today and looked really bloody sloppy in this one. And, activity is a big factor as well, though, and Dillian Whyte hasn't been having that due to his issues outside the ring. But no matter what, though, even before his issues outside the ring, he was still looking sloppy anyway in his victories, or should we say his fake victories with that Franklin win. But yeah, with this fight against Tetteh today, I thought Dillian Whyte's body work was good, and I thought Dillian Whyte's lead hook was pretty good as well, though. But the defensive Dillian Whyte is just non-existent. Like there just isn't any defense from Dillian Whyte whatsoever. And he was getting caught with something, he's getting knocked back a few times as well in that fight. I mean, a lot of the time, though, like Tetteh was just a moving punching bag, but somehow also was able to march forward, not take a backward step, and still took Dillian Whyte's power. So fair play, and Tetteh still gave back the odd few big shots of his own, which which were able to catch Dillian Whyte. But Tetteh was loading up, he was stiff, and he was still able to get some good success on Dillian Whyte at times, even though most of the fight he was a moving punching bag anyway. So it was a very sloppy performance from Dillian Whyte, and you're not looking at that thinking, I think this guy can still compete at the top level. You're not thinking that at all. If you think that, I don't know what to think, because it's just not going to happen. His next opponent is going to be interesting, but I think with that fight with Tetteh, though, when I feel like he kind of played into Tetteh's game quite a bit, because Tetteh wanted to slug it out with Dillian Whyte. Tetteh wanted to make it into a fight, and Dillian Whyte kind of played into the game with Tetteh. I think, it's good that Dillian Whyte was able to get rounds in that fight. I think that's really important. We got a good 7 rounds in there. And I said before the fight as well in my watch along, it'd be good if Dillian Whyte can get rounds in here, take his time. But as well, though, it's like that's not the fight I was expecting. I was expecting Dillian Whyte to be, active behind his jab throughout the fight. And, he was, but Dillian Whyte wasn't always able to get his way behind it, though. Tetteh wasn't fazed by the jab that Dillian Whyte was giving to him. It was a real sloppy jab from Dillian Whyte, which he was mixing up from head to body. It was sloppy, and it couldn't keep Tetteh off. Whyte couldn't keep Tetteh off him with his lead hand. That's the thing. And at times, Tetteh was able to, show he's the stronger guy than Whyte at times and back him up against the ropes. But to be fair, Dillian Whyte was good at being able to get off the ropes at times by just, throwing in a decent lead hook. And that is Dillian Whyte's best shot, that lead uppercut, that lead hook. It's got power in it, and it can gain your respect. But the jab of Dillian Whyte was sloppy throughout the night, and it didn't faze Tetteh whatsoever. Tetteh was able to get under that jab. Well, didn't really get under it. He just walked right through it, and was able to get some shots in of his own. But Again, I think the problem for Dillian Whyte is he wasn't fully able to really get that straight right hand going either. Like, there was no momentum that Dillian Whyte got going with that straight right hand. I mean, at time, I think there was once in the fight as well. I don't remember what round it was in now, though. But I remember Dillian Whyte caught Tetteh with a big hook, but then overswam massively and just tripped over. And that ruined the momentum for Dillian Whyte. When it looked like he was trying to get a finish. But yeah, it's a disappointing performance from Dillian Whyte, in my opinion, though. Even though he mixed up his shots right, but it was just such slow pace. He plods forward. I mean, I've always said it throughout Dillian Whyte's career, though, is that he's just got no footwork whatsoever. And it's declining. It's getting worse every bloody time he fights. And it's not good at all. Dillian Whyte's looking slower every time he fights now as well. I mean, with Dillian Whyte, for example, I thought when he fought Povetkin the first time and the second time, it was all right. He looked like he had some all right speed behind him and he was comfortable when he was throwing his shots. But today, I just feel like Dillian Whyte looked really uncomfortable in the ring today. And it was the same against Tyson Fury. Dillian Whyte looked really uncomfortable in there. Same against Jermaine Franklin. Dillian Whyte looked uncomfortable in there. And it was the exact same thing today as well. He didn't look fully comfortable in there, Dillian Whyte. And he couldn't get his own momentum going. And that's what he should have done. I mean, young Daniel Dubois was able to blast Tetteh out of there in a round. And even though when Dillian Whyte was going for it, even though he was trying to get rounds in there, I'm not saying, oh yeah, Dillian Whyte was trying to get him out of there in the first round, because he wasn't. But when Dillian Whyte was trying to, up the pace a bit more on Tetteh was able to take Dillian Whyte's power. And it's just because it was very predictable at times. And when it's it was too predictable a lot of times. And when you're too predictable, especially when you're fighting a guy like Tetteh, it's clear there's a problem. It's clear there's a problem when you're too predictable when you're in there with Tetteh, who was very bloody stiff, but also, was able to take big shots throughout the fight. So fair play to him. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the fight. What do we see next for Dillian Whyte is now a big question. I mean, Dillian Whyte was saying after the fight how he'd like to, of course, get on a Riyadh season card. I think, that's probably what I would like to see Dillian Whyte on. I want to see him on a Riyadh season card. Who did we see him up against, though? I was saying in my watch on possibly Lawrence Okoli, but again, I think that could be a very sluggish, sloppy fight to watch. I'm not even sure if Dillian Whyte wins that fight against Lawrence Okoli at this point. There's Otto Wallin, who we could fight, who he's scheduled to fight. That could happen if Wallin could get through Chisora. Filip Hrgović is a possibility, but again, I think Filip Hrgović could be a dangerous fight for Dillian Whyte to take at this point in his career. I think what could be good is Dillian Whyte gets on a Riyadh season card, gets an all right win, possibly against, if he looks down that route, gets an all right win. Let's say, I don't know, stick him in there with Hughie Fury. I think Dillian Whyte can win that fight against Hughie Fury. Hughie Fury's an all right win. Stick Dillian Whyte in there with him on a Saudi card. There we go. Dillian Whyte wins that, then you can stick him in there with a Jarrell Miller, Annie Ruiz, someone like that, in my opinion. Or a Lawrence Okoli or a Filip Hrgović. But I feel like Dillian Whyte needs more of an average win first. Not even an average win, just an all right, decent win. And then, then he can fight someone all right. That fight against Tetteh, I don't really think's proven much. But yeah, there we go. I'm going to wrap this video up here. Thanks for watching. Speak to you on the next one.